The gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Gowdy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the families of the victims, it's been 8 months. And I know that there are those who have said that's a long time ago. But the good news is there is no statute of limitations when it comes to finding out the truth, particularly for those who have served and sacrificed and died under our flags. So, Mr. Hicks, let's find out the truth. The President of Libya responded to the attack and labeled it an attack by Islamic extremists, possibly with terror links, correct?
Yes, sir.
So hours after our ambassador and 3 others are killed in Benghazi, the President of Libya says it was an attack with possible terror links, correct?
Yes, sir. That's what I recall.
Did the President of Libya ever mention a spontaneous protest related to a video?
No, sir.
When Ambassador Stevens talked to you, perhaps minutes before he died, as a dying declaration, what precisely did he say to you?
He said, Greg, we're under attack.
Would a highly decorated career diplomat have told you or Washington had there been a demonstration outside his facility that day?
Yes, sir, he would have.
Did he mention one word about a protest or a demonstration?
No, sir, he did not.
So fast forward, Mr. Hicks, to the Sunday talk shows and Ambassador Susan Rice. She blamed this attack on a video. In fact, she did it 5 different times. What was your reaction to that?
I was stunned. My jaw dropped, and I was embarrassed.
Did she talk to you before she went on the 5 Sunday talk shows?
No, sir.
You were the highest-ranking official in Libya at the time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she did not bother to have a conversation with you before she went on national television?
No, sir.
So Ambassador Rice directly contradicts the evidence on the ground in Libya. She directly contradicts the President of Libya. She directly contradicts the last statement uttered by Ambassador Stevens. Mr. Hicks, who is Beth Jones?
Beth Jones is the Acting Assistant Secretary for Near Eastern Affairs at the State Department.
I want to read an excerpt from an email she sent, and you were copied on it. And by the way, Mr. Chairman, for our colleagues who like to trumpet bipartisanship, this would be a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate it. Some of these emails, even though they're not classified, have not been released, Mr. Chairman, including the one that I'm going to read from. So for my colleagues who trumpet bipartisanship, this would be a wonderful time to prove it. This is from Ms. Jones to you, to counsel for Hillary Clinton, to Victoria Nuland, to Mr. Kennedy, near as I can tell, to almost everyone in the State Department, and I'm going to read from it. I spoke to the Libyan ambassador and emphasized the importance of Libyan leaders continuing to make strong statements. By the way, Mr. Hicks, this email was sent on September the 12th, the day after Benghazi, and several days before Ambassador Rice's television appearance. And I'll continue. When he said his government suspected that former Gaddafi regime elements carried out the attacks, I told him that the group that conducted the attacks, Ansar al-Sharia, is affiliated with Islamic terrorists. Let me say that again, Mr. Hicks. She told him, the State Department, on September the 12th, days before our ambassador went on national television, is telling the ambassador to Libya, the group that conducted the attacks, Ansar al-Sharia, is affiliated with Islamic terrorists. Mr. Hicks, I want to know 2 things. Number one, why in the world would Susan Rice go on 5 Sunday talk shows and perpetuate a demonstrably false narrative? And secondarily, what impact did it have on the ground in Benghazi, the fact that she contradicted the President of Libya?
As to the first question, I cannot provide an answer, but perhaps you should ask Ambassador Rice.
I would love the opportunity to do just that.
As to the second question, At the time, we were trying to get the FBI to Benghazi to begin its investigation. And that talk show actually provided an opportunity to make that happen. Afterwards, we encountered bureaucratic resistance for a long period from the Libyans. The Libyan government at this time is not very deep. President, Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Ministers, ministers, all capable people, some vice ministers as well. And it took us an additional my math's not very fast these days, maybe 18 days to get the FBI team to Benghazi.
So the crime scene was unsecured for 18 days?
Yes, sir.
Witnesses were not interviewed?
Would the gentleman would please finish up? We're going to try and move along.
Yes, I will move on. We will finish this if there is a second round. Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Thank you. For all individuals, to the extent that
Look who was just found dead after what they were about to expose on Hillary. Over the last several weeks, the Seth Rich murder case has been heating up. More people have been demanding answers over Rich's mysterious murder. You see, people don't buy the official story that the mainstream media has been pushing, and rightfully so. The official story of Rich's death never really passed the sniff test in my opinion, and here is why. Rich's body was found in a secluded area in what the police say was a robbery gone wrong. Well, I guess I would buy that story if Rich's wallet, money, and credit cards were taken, but they weren't. Also, there have been witnesses that have stepped forward to say that Rich was in communication with WikiLeaks. So, it should come as no surprise that people are questioning. You see, the American people have been lied to for so long by the media and the elites in Washington that we know there is more to the story. Which is why when we hear that someone else died who is connected to Hillary Clinton, our antennas perk up. Which is why there are still major questions being asked about former United Nations, UN, official John Ash. Here is more from the Political Insider. A bombshell report shows that Ash, who was found dead last week, supposedly due to a heart attack, is having the reason for death brought into question. Police officers in the city of Dobbs Ferry, New York have claimed he instead died by a crushed throat in a workout accident. Ash was scheduled to testify in court today, along with Ng Lapsang, a Chinese businessman and co-defendant, who received more than $1 billion during his term as president of the UN in donations. Singh also found ways to illegally funnel money to Democrats during President Bill Clinton's term in office. Could this be Hillary Clinton silencing people who know too much? Ng was identified in a 1998 Senate report as the source of hundreds of thousands of dollars illegally funneled through an Arkansas restaurant owner, Charlie Try, to the Democratic National Committee during the Clinton administration. Ng was not charged with any crime. Ng and Try had visited the White House several times for Democratic fundraising events and were photographed with then President Bill Clinton and First Lady Hillary Clinton. One source told me, during the trial, the prosecutors would have linked Ash to the Clinton bagman Ng. It would have been very embarrassing. His death was conveniently timed. Ash's lawyer Jeremy Schneider told me he is sure Ash's death was an accident. There is not one iota of evidence that it was homicide. This is nothing at all like Vince Foster. Police in Dobbs Ferry Village are keeping the investigation open pending an autopsy by the Westchester Medical Examiner. I mean, the mob has nothing on Hillary Clinton and her death count, right? Of course, that sounds suspicious to me, and I am sure to you as well. First, it was said that Ash suffered a heart attack, but then, later on, it was said his throat was crushed from the workplace accident. Now, on the surface, it could be brushed aside as coincidence, but considering that Ash was scheduled to testify in court, it just doesn't sit right. The real question is, what did Ash know that could harm the Clinton mafia machine? There is plenty of reason to believe that Hillary Clinton had something to do with this death as well. These people are ruthless and will stop at nothing to keep their dirty secrets hidden from the American people. So, it makes sense after knowing about the deaths of Vince Foster, Seth Rich, and John Ash why Sean Hannity would back away from researching Rich's death. Who knows what was said to Seth Rich's family or Sean Hannity to get them to be silent? I do believe that the Clintons are aware that time is running out for them. After all these years of being able to literally get away with murder, their crime spree is in jeopardy. I can only hope that a special prosecutor will be appointed to investigate Clinton and her nasty crimes. These victims' families deserve justice for their loved ones' deaths, and it is about time we give it to them.